probably won't have the,
That's just,
Don't go to Iran. Iran is a desert. Iran is dangerous. You will not be safe there. If you go to Iran, you'll probably need a camel to travel. My friends, with all this propaganda in the media, with all the politicians all around the world that don't want us, we, the ordinary people, to know the truth about each other. Suppose you have given an hour to talk about the country. To talk about a country with more than 5,000 years of civilization. Suppose you have given an hour to explain a book which has taken more than 5,000 years to be written. Not by me, by a nation, my nation. So please listen to me, because this is the story of my country, Iran.
Despite its considerable impact on modern technology and thought, the Iranian civilization is still unknown for many in the West, as well as in Iran. This film aims to remedy that shortcoming. In fact, Persia, or Iran, has produced some of the most magnificent feats of engineering the world has ever seen. Splendid circular cities that arose from barren deserts.
The system is so perfect. It's really amazing.
Hydraulic systems unparalleled in the world.
To me, it represents one of the high points of hydraulic engineering in the Middle East and, dare I say it, in the world.
Astonishing, shining palaces with soaring columns some 20 meters high.
I think it's a fantastic work of engineering.
Works of metallurgy manufactured some 3,200 years ago that still invokes awe today.
This sculpture is not only a work of art, but it's also the zenith of the work of bronze casting. It is even unrivaled in Egypt, the Levant, or Babylon.
5,000 years of Iranian engineering. Water, wind, earth, and fire.
Hello, everybody. This is the content of my speech today. We are going to first talk about an introduction about Iran, then we will talk about the importance of water resources in this country, and then I will introduce you 4 different ancient water structures in Iran. So let's start with the introduction. Iran is almost in the eastern boundary of the Middle East in the world. And these are different neighbors of Iran: Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. This is a very beautiful image taken by NASA. You can see Caspian Sea and also Persian Gulf in the north and south. And these are 2 sierras in Iran, Zagros and Alborz, and 2 great deserts in the middle of this country. And here is where Tehran, the capital of Iran, is located. Iran has 31 provinces with area of 1.6 million square kilometers. and population around 75 million, and GDP per capita $4,700. Iran is a diverse country with different ethnicities in different parts of the country. So the main ethnic in Iran is the majority of people are Persian, with more than 60%, and then are Kurd, Lor, Gilak, Baluch, Azeri, Turkmen, and others. So I want to shortly take a tour over Iran and show you some photos about people, life, and different places in this country. We will start from Tehran, which is in fact the capital and the political, economical, and industrial center of this country. The next destination is Balochistan on the southeast of Iran near Pakistan. So here is very hot and arid area. Go to the west, you can see Lorestan, where Lor ethnic live, and they are very hospitable. You can travel to a mountainous area which Kurds live. In this country is in the northwest when Azeri people live. And in the Caspian Sea coast where Gilaks live, where the most rice and tea of this country is produced. And finally, on the northeast where Turkmen live. As I said, at the middle of Iran, there are two great deserts. So, the climate of Iran, how is the climate of Iran? Iran is a vast country with different types of climates. Wet and mild on the coast of the Caspian Sea, continental and arid in the plateaus, cold in high mountains, deserts, and hot in the southern coast and the southeast. But generally speaking, Iran is an arid country. However, in the west and in the north, the rain are a bit more abundant in comparison with the east and south. The only rainy area is the Caspian Sea on the north, and the summer is sunny everywhere. Let's talk about the importance of water in this country. Initially in Iran, in fact, the civilization of this region was formed along the riversides in southwest of Persia. So water has been always sacred in Iran from a long time ago. In Iran's culture, water is a sign of brightness, purity, honesty, and peace. And the most important one is that with the arid climate in this country, efficient water resource management has been always been vital to survive there for Iranian civilization. So I'm going to introduce 4 different water structures in ancient Iran. The first one is Shushtar historical hydraulic system, which is around 2,000 years ago. The second one is Shoghaz Nabil water purification system that dates back to 3,000 years ago. Kurit Arch Dam in the Middle Age, around 700 years ago, and Qanat with more than at least 2,500 of age. So here is Shushtar city at the southwest of Iran, and this is Karun River, one of the largest and main and most important rivers in this country. Shushtar used to be a very important city when it was in the maybe 2,000 years ago. It was one of the most important cities in this area. So we are going to talk about the Shushtar historical hydraulic system is at this area and consists of 3 main parts. The main part is Mizan weir, which was a weir in order to regulate the water with a predefined and designed ratio from the main channel of Karun River. So it used to divert the water to the Gargar channel, which was a man-made channel 2,500 years ago at this area. So the Gargar channel came to this area back of the Gargar weir, which used to increase the height of water and supply enough head for the water to enter 3 separate tunnels, which was caved inside of the rock. And then it enters a fantastic connecting tunnels and galleries inside of the rock, which was perfectly designed with precise hydraulic calculations. And then it goes downstream and cascades into this plain and goes downstream to irrigate around 40,000 hectares of farms and agricultural areas and orchards. So this is the beautiful view of this hydraulic system. A series of tunnels which were used for supplying water for 36 water mills. And this system was used for urban water supply, water mills, irrigation, and river transportation around 2,000 years ago. So in order for you to become more familiar with this hydraulic structure, I have also another video.
An ancient city that owes a great part of its existence to abundant water resources and fertile soil. A city which has well preserved its historical and cultural identity through time. Civilizations came to life wherever there was water. For thousands of years, the people of ancient Persia struggled hard to make life easier, both for themselves and for their future generations. And this strong passion for living has sometimes resulted into incredible works of art and engineering. Here we are in Shushtan, the city of old Sisyphus trees and ancient water mills that date back to more than 2,000 years. Ancient Persian language, Shushtan means a better city. Shushtan was an important place for the Elamites and the Achaemenids several millennia ago. For more than 3,000 years, this city had been the center of attention for its agricultural productivity. But it was during the Achaemenid period, more than 2,000 years ago, when people realized that they could make optimum use of the energy produced by the flow of Karun River that passed through the city. The application of renewable energy in Shushtan reached a climax during the 3rd century, when the city was selected as the summer capital of Iran by the Sassanids. That was when the Sassanid king Shapur I defeated the Roman Emperor Valerian and ordered the captive Roman soldiers to build a water system comprising large bridges and dams that not only supplied the city and irrigated agricultural lands, but also used as a drive to run a series of water mills that were unique in their own time. On the water mill site, I met with Navid Ghajarnia, the internal manager of Shushtar's historical hydraulic structures, who gave me more interesting facts about Shushtar's water system.
این آثار متعلق به دوران ساسانیان هستند با پیشینه 1700 ساله. مجموعه آسیاب‌های شوشتر دارای 3 قسمت شمالی، شرقی و غربی هست که مجموع این 3 قسمت تونسته 36 عدد آسیاب رو در دل خودش جا بده و عمدتاً کاربرد این آسیاب‌ها هم برای تامین مایحتاج آرد، گندم، جو، کنجد و حتی شیشه استان بوده.
The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or the UNESCO, has registered the Shushtar historical hydraulic system as a World Heritage Site, describing it as a masterpiece of creative genius, and indeed it is.
So the second water structure is Shoghazambil water purification system. More than 3,000 years ago, a nation was living in the southwest of Iran, which in Iran. Their name was Elamites. Elamites had 3 different tribes. So each tribe used to worship a different god. And this has led to a religious disagreement among them, and they could not unify. So they had a wise king, its name was Untash Napirisha, the great king, who in order to unify his nation, he made a holy city and he made a temple at the middle of the city, which named it Shoghazambil Ziggurat. Ziggurat in ancient Persian language means temple. And he gathered all different kings in the temple in order to unify his nation. But in order to supply the water for this, from a very close river, which was Des River, 1.6 kilometers away. But the problem was that it was 60 meters downstream, and the level of the river was lower than the level of the temple, so they could not use it. So archaeologists have found the findings of remainings of some break monuments 700 meters away from the temple that strengthened the idea and theory that they have probably transported the water from 45 kilometers away from Karkh River, which used to be a holy river in that time. And because the elevation is higher, so it could become a gravity fed. And then in order to purify this water, they have used an astonishing idea and water purification system based on Pascal's law, some 2500s before Pascal. Pascal's law says that an increase in a point in a confined liquid will result in equal increase of pressure at all other points. So they have made two connected pools or reservoirs, which at the connecting sections, they have filled the connecting section with pebbles, sand, and charcoals. And then they could purify the water, transported water from the in the outlet pool. As you see here, there are 9 holes at the bottom of the main pool, and then they could purify the water on the other side by this way. So this is the Chogazambel water purification system. The third water structure that I'm going to introduce you is about dams. This is the map of historical weirs, weirs, and dams in Middle Age or ancient Iran. The important characteristic of historical Iranian dams is their remarkable heights. As you see in this table, Iran has the most number of dams, 21 dams with more than 15 meters of historical dams. And the second country is Spain, and the third place belongs to Slovakia with 9 dams. So we are going to talk about this place where Korit village used to have a river as a water resources, as a surface water resources. In that area, its name was also Korit River. And in order to exploit the water, they have built the largest, the tallest arch dam in the Middle Age in that time. The Korit Dam was built in a very narrow canyon 700 years ago, and it's especially remarkable for its extraordinary height of 60 meters. The crest length is 50 meters, and the thickness is only 1.2 meters. So it's very interesting that the site selection of this dam was very perfect. It was really perfect. And also the geology, I mean the water tightness and the stability of that place was also perfect. It's interesting that a recent investigation for building a new dam in that area came to the result that the old dam axe is the best alternative. So the second point is that the dam was built on a brick arch of 10 meters from the riverbed. What does it mean? It means, this time when we want to build a dam, we have to divert the river first in order to dry out the river to start the construction. But they have had another idea. They have built the dam over an arch 10 meters from the riverbed and let the river go and pass through. And then in the dry season, they have constructed the bottom of the dam. But this is not the photo of Korit Dam. This is another dam 25 kilometers away, the Korit Dam, and built 50 years later, which its height is half of the Korit Dam. And this was built for flood control. This is another illustrative example of sustainable water structure because it lets the water, the base flow, to pass when there is not any flood. But when there is flood, it helps the downstream villages by controlling the flood. The third point about Korit Dam is that the dam builders in 700 years ago could neither foresee the extreme flood probabilities nor excavate a spillway in the rock. So that's why they have selected an arch configuration that is highly resistant to overtapping. Investigations shows that Korit Dam could probably could have overtopped more than 1,000 times without any break or failure. The final and the fourth structure that I'm going to talk about is canals. to talk about Qanat, I want to ask you a question. Suppose you are living in Arizona state when there is no river and there is no, in a village that there is no surface water resources for you. So, but you need a constant, I'm emphasizing, a constant source of water to survive and to live there. What do you think is the way? How can you have a constant source of water in a village in the middle of an arid plain without any river? Do you have any idea? Yes, please.
Hold on for an aquifer.
Yes, exactly. You should look under the ground to find an aquifer or to dig a well, as what we do these days. Maybe we can dig a deep well, more than 200 meters, and by putting a water pump on top of it, because we have the electricity today, the electricity is invented. So you can easily switch on the pump, and you can have a constant source of water. Unless you don't switch it off, you have the water. But what if you were living 3,000 years ago, that electricity was not invented? How can you make such a beautiful garden in the middle of an arid plain and have a constant source of ongoing water without electricity and without any river? Just to give you a sense how arid is this area. This is the Google map image. This is the garden in the middle of the arid plain. So this is what Qanat did for ancient Iranians. How? Qanat indeed is a tunnel or a gallery under the ground starting from the arid plain and goes through the foothill. When the water table of the aquifer is closer to the surface in comparison in the plain that is much far. So, and because this channel, underground channel, had a slope, a mild slope, so with its gently slope, it used to bring the water by the force of gravity, so they could have a constant source of water where they live in a village in the middle of the desert and arid place. So that is how they could make such a beautiful garden in that area that I showed you in the previous slide. And this is me in that garden, when I was much younger at that time. So, what are the benefits of Qanat? In that arid area, the first one is putting the majority of the channel underground. It reduces the evaporation in that area, which the rate of evaporation is too high. The second point is that since the system is fed entirely by gravity, so the need for pumps is eliminated. And the third point is that it is a sustainable water structure. How? The reason is that Qanat exploits groundwater as a renewable source. What does it mean? It means that the rate of flow of water in Qanat is controlled by the level of the underground water table. So the Qanat cannot use significant drawdown in an aquifer because its flow varies directly with the subsurface water supply. So it's very sustainable. So in order to summarize what I have told you about different water structures and also give you more information about Qanat, I have the final video for you, and it is the end of my presentation for you, that talks about all these structures and also focuses on Qanat.
Iran has been time and again described as the land of roses and nightingales. This might have been due to the fact that beautiful gardens have inspired the romantic imagination of many poets, writers, and travelers. Nevertheless, almost 2/3 of this land of roses and nightingales is covered by rugged mountain ranges and vast arid deserts. rugged terrain and difficult climate, during the past centuries, managing water resources has provided some of the greatest feats of engineering in Iran. Such as the massive hydraulic system in Shushtar, the construction of bridge dams, for example, Banda Ania and Khaju Bridge. The building of an arch dam some 700 years ago. And more astonishing, a water treatment system in Shogazambil, which provided clean water over 3,000 years ago. But there is one Iranian irrigation technology that is still used in various countries, from Japan and China to Spain and Latin America. The Kanat. This technology allows for the cultivation of approximately 1.5 million hectares of land worldwide.
We now have a Kanat active in the city of Palermo. Kanats are probably one of the most important contributions of the Iranian genius to the history of humanity.
But what is a Kanat? A Kanat is an almost horizontal underground conduit that allows water to be conveyed over long distances from an aquifer, which is usually in the foothills, to an arid place where it is required for irrigation. The main channel is the essential functional element of the Kanat. But vertical shafts which connect the tunnel to the surface are needed for digging the tunnels and facilitating the removal of debris, as well as providing oxygen for the diggers. But how could they identify where the subterranean water resources exist? The Iranian experts of the Kanat system, with centuries of experience and having closely studied the soil, the type of vegetation, and other natural phenomena, identified the evidence for the probable existence of a water table in the uphill slope. One or more trial wells were then dug to determine the exact location of the water table. Once a trial well reached the main reservoir, it was considered as the mother well. And then the Kanat channel was dug. But it was dug not from the mother well to the outlet, but rather the other way round, from the Kanat outlet towards the mother well.
Genius. And it's 3,000 years ago.
A society that comes to appreciate the importance of water and then follows its tracks. This is the necessary step to the advancement of technology. This, indeed, is the water of life.
One of the oldest and perhaps most famous qanats in Iran is in Gornabad, almost in the center of Khorasan. For over 2,000 years, this qanat has been supplying water for drinking as well as irrigation in the region. About 900 years ago, Nasser Khusro, a well-known Iranian poet and traveler, estimated the depth of this qanat's mother well as 700 gaz, approximately 300 meters, and its length as being about 4 fasakh, approximately 24 kilometers. The qanat construction technique was on the whole quite complex, despite its ancient character. It requires a detailed understanding of subterranean geology, trigonometry, and engineering sophistication.
It is a carefully designed task, and it is mathematically calculated. Now, the qanat builders might not have calculated something on paper, but they calculated everything on the ground and accomplished the task. Qanats are among the great tasks accomplished in Iran. Many kilometers of underground qanats have been made in Iran, which I believe has been the starting point of a teamwork in the development of the future technology.
Qanats are providing one of the few examples of the steady use of a technique by humanity for at least over 2,500 years.
So at the end, I want to thank you for your attention and for your attendance. Also, I have to thank my colleague, Ms. Samaneh Seyfulahi, who helped me a lot for providing this information, and she is indeed my wife. So would you please do me a favor and applaud her instead of me?
So we have time for some questions. Please go ahead and ask. All right.
Any questions for Navid? We have time for about 2 or 3 questions. Yeah.
And are there any rivers that come into Iran from another country, and if so, are there problems for upstream, maybe shutting the water down, polluting rivers?
Yes, it is. There are a lot of them, and I remember when I was in the University of Bachelor, I heard that the next war is a war on water. And now I believe it is, because especially at that area, I want to say maybe water is going to become even more important and valuable than oil in the Middle East. I'll give you an example. For example, we have a river in the east of Iran. When the river comes from Afghanistan, it originates from Afghanistan, and it is the water resources for one of the most important cities in Iran, with around 10 million population. So they have built a dam in Afghanistan, and the water is, we don't receive much water and the negotiations have came to the result that you should open the outlet of oil if you want to have water. So, and this is vice versa when a river is originating from Iran and goes through another country. So we have a lot of transboundary and political issues about that.
I've heard of a disappearing lake in Iran, Lake Urmia.
Yes. Urmia Lake is, maybe I can show you the location. It is here. It is exactly here. This is Urmia Lake. This is a salt lake, which unfortunately, because of unsuitable development works on the upper stream basin, and because of making a lot of dams on the upper stream, so the utilization of the water is done without considering the environment water right of this river. And this is not disappeared completely. There are a lot of restoration projects going on, and it is getting better, but we have problem in that lake yet.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Questions or comments? I have one. Can you talk about the opening video? It showed the wind catcher and the air cooling system. Can you talk a little bit about that kind of air conditioning?
Sure. I didn't show you the whole video, but I can send you if you want, because I have the copyright from the producer. And they told me spread these videos as much as possible.
We can share it with the students.
But that is a cooling system in the central Iran, which is called wind towers, something like that. And the wind goes down from that wind tower into the house. And for those who were more wealthy and could have a branch of the qanat going under the building, on the basement, so they conducted the wind to go over the water of qanat, which qanat is always very cool because it's originated from the groundwater. So, and then it comes to the something like an air conditioner at that time. Yes.
That's great. I know there's one question at least in here. Someone's being really shy. No questions, comments? Okay.
Well, I'm going to ask mine then, since all my students have actually fit. I always ask this from the fellows. There are people who come from other countries that are visiting here. You know, just in general, like, what are some of the things that have struck you about living in the States, or what do you like about living in Davis, or maybe something that you have a hard time getting used to?
The most visible thing that I witnessed here is kindness of people in Davis. People are really kind, and they care about everything. When you're talking, they care you. When you're walking away, they care about you. They know that somebody is going, somebody is, you know, this is very important in the society. I really appreciate that. This is very, this was something that touched me. And also I want to say that people here respect the diversities. This is very good. Respect the diverse ideas, religions, political, maybe not respected, but even more than many other communities. So this is the most important thing that I want to share. And you asked me about hard situations, you know, it was because of, you know, when you travel somewhere, you enter a new society, everything is new. I want to tell you, even I used to use debit cards in my country, but the debit instruments here is totally different. So at the first weeks, I didn't know how to pay even. So all these are pressures upon us, but now things are getting much better.
Right, great. So there are some questions. Okay. So, go ahead.
So, you mentioned that the levels of the water in the aquifer determines the flow rate. What if there was a particular need for increased water, or even if the flow was too much at certain times? What was the method used to control that?
Yes, they could not control it. There is an arid region, so the amount of water could not increase from a certain level because of the volume of the tunnel that was made. So it was not becoming a dangerous, for example, a floody tunnel, but the water could be dried out from the outlet of the canal at the times of dry seasons. And that is what has happened to, a lot of these canals are still working, even in Tehran, in the capital. And they are used for the irrigation of the city, they are used in the city. But a lot of them are dried out because of the dropping down of the groundwater table in many areas. Yes.
Okay. Yes?
So, in your personal experience, do you see any comparisons between the water systems in Iran compared to the water systems in Davis?
Yes, especially in California. The water systems, what I showed you are ancient water structures. Nowadays, the water systems are much more similar all around the world. The water purification systems, the dams, the pipelines, networks, things like that are very similar. But the problems in California and Iran are very similar because here also you have drought, here you have a lot of withdrawals from the aquifer, and you have subsidence on the land. And these are the problems that we have also in that area. But Kanat is the most important innovative water structure in Iran, which here in the United States is not used because you don't have a lot of other options, alternatives. You have a lot of good rivers, so this is not needed here.
So I think this is just the beginning of our conversation. We could keep you for days. We want to thank you, Navid, for your presentation, and then also let you guys know that another one of Navid's colleagues will be presenting on December 1st, Itzel Morales from Mexico, and she'll be talking about climate change in Mexico on December 1st in the Cultural Awareness Center. And the other colleagues, some of whom are here today, we'll hopefully have them back next semester for presentations on their areas too. Thank you, Navid, so much. Thank you.
I always forget. So we invite people from Davis or wherever, and they come to City College, and all they get is a coffee cup. So when he drinks his latte, he'll think of